Hello everybody, we're here today with the great JP. How are you, man?
I'm wonderful, how are you?
Thanks for being here at the Drum Brother.
It is my pleasure, thanks for having me.
And we're gonna have a nice chat.
Very nice, extra nice.
Tell us about your story in drums or out drums, where you've been like in your career or where you studied, what got you into drumming?
Well, I was given up at birth and raised by a tribe of Indian drummers. No, that's not true. I don't have a crazy story. My story is very typical, and I like it that way. But I started playing when I was 9. My mom is a bass player. She's super cool. She's like sort of musical, well, the more musical side of the family. My dad plays a little guitar, but I don't remember why I started playing drums. I know I used to play on like pots and pans with chopsticks and stuff, which is so stereotypical, but it's true. And I don't remember what the impetus was, but at some point my mom was like, hey, maybe you should take some lessons. Stop breaking our Tupperware. So I took lessons at Schmidt Music in Burnsville. Before I had a drum set for about a year, I think, 6 months maybe. And that was enough time for my parents to see, oh, he really likes this. He's very serious about it. So they got me a drum set. And that first teacher I had was very, very important to me, Wade Linkert. Because he was a great person, a great teacher, and a really well-rounded musician. And that's where, I don't know if he was doing it purposely or it's just who he was, or if there was a plan, but we studied sort of everything. You know, we did Blink-182, we did some jazzy stuff, we did Prince. We did totally different things every week, it seemed. And that, I think, was ingrained in me. I didn't realize till recently, but I've always subconsciously tried to not specify in any genre. And I think that's where it started with Wade. And I took with him for 7 years, which is crazy long, in my opinion. That's a really long time. And then after that, so I started playing when I was 9, 6th grade, got in this band right away with a guy I actually live with now at Berkeley, which is kind of crazy. But Mike Linden, we started a band called Y. And that was fun. And then I started getting into jazz in high school. I started with a different teacher, Jason Price, who's a great jazz player. And I was deep into jazz, because I discovered Dave Weckl and Chick Corea. In their everything they did together, I was all over it. I love the electric band. That was a life-changing discovery. And I have no idea how I found it. But yeah, I actually have no idea who introduced me to that, but that changed my life. And then I got really deep into like standard jazz, playing jazz band in school, Minnesota Youth Jazz Band. And I started playing big bands, which I really love, and I need to do more of now. Most people don't know that I played a lot of big band, but I love playing big band. And I was playing full-time in a couple big bands, 2 or 3 for a while, and subbing for some of the bigger bands in the area would give me the crappy gigs that didn't pay well. But it was great because I loved it. I learned a lot about reading and driving the band, sort of being in charge. And that was really cool, especially this is like late high school. And then I came to Berkeley. I went to Berkeley. And that was a whole nother world. I went to Berkeley, so you know a lot about the vibe, but it's an amazing place. And I moved in across the hall in the dorms my first semester across from Matt Garska, who's now drumming with Animals as Leaders. And
Hi, Matt.
Yeah, hey, Matt. Thanks, buddy. And if you know of him, he's one of the craziest drummers, I think, in our generation. I think he's really a trailblazer. And it was set subconsciously in my mind when I moved to Berkeley, thanks to Matt and Frank and Jan and Taylor Gordon, who all lived sort of like the doors around me.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
I know all of them.
Thanks, guys. And it was such a blessing. I didn't know at the time because it was all new to me. I thought this is what everyone's doing. But those guys were working so hard. And every day they were in the practice rooms at the end of the hall with their drum sets that they lugged down there and set up forever. 6 hours a day for 4 or 10 hours a day, whatever it was. It was just a lot of time, especially in my mind, because I didn't know people practiced that much, you know. So, yeah, I was, drumming-wise, strangely well-rounded because I feel that I was a bit sheltered by myself growing up. But I got to school and I learned what the word chops meant, and I learned what gospel chops was, and a whole bunch of new stuff, and like real jazz cats were around. I was like, oh my gosh, like these guys, like that's the real stuff. And yeah, so that was my first year at Berklee. I probably made more progress drumming-wise than any other time in my life, I think, because I was completely immersed, very excited, and was surrounded by brand new inspiration, like new to my entire life. These people, because where I grew up, there aren't many musicians at all, and really no other drummers that I was close with in a way that we could share anything. So anything and everything I learned came from listening to like Dave Weckl or being on Drummer World, and I didn't even do that very much. So to come to Berklee and have all of this new stuff, these new ideas, teachers giving me ideas, was really amazing. Casey Sherrill was the teacher I studied with for all 4 of my semesters at school. He always had great ideas because he thinks outside of the box. And I love the way he teaches because he just plants a seed, you know. He doesn't say, learn this solo and come back and play that solo and then forget that solo. It was like, we'd just hang and talk, and he'd be like, check out this idea I thought of. It'd be super weird, but it'd be super basic in a sense that it could go anywhere. And that's what I really loved about Casey, is that he just gave me these tiny ideas. And before I knew it, a year had passed, and I was like, man, I don't even know what have we worked on with Casey. But then it dawned on me as I was playing, I was like, oh, like all this stuff that's like just in my playing. Like it found its way into my playing, and it's a big part of that phase of my life. And that was very important. I don't know if he knows that, but thanks, Casey. Berklee, a lot happened. I got into like the sessions at school, tons of jamming the first year, a whole bunch of bands that sort of came and went, and I was maybe in for a few months here and there. And it was great. I feel blessed to have been able to play with so many wonderful people, so many different genres and stuff. And you know, it's always changing on a day-to-day basis. I'm like, man, I need to get more into jazz. And I'll like go into some jazz phase. And then I'll be like, wait, I don't like jazz anymore. And move on to whatever and work on my double bass or something, right? But that's kind of where I'm at now. And now that I'm out of school, I dropped out. But it's interesting because this is the first time in my life I don't have a teacher. So no one's telling me what to learn. And it's really an interesting experience to think, who am I in this world now that there's a bit more of a spotlight? I have to kind of think, what am I doing? And like, what is my voice? Like, because before I could imitate and I could work on whatever, and it didn't matter because no one really knew what I was doing. No one really cared except me. And that's beautiful as well. And now, what I'm always trying to do is keep that same mentality, as if I'm alone and no one cares what I play, and just be me, even no matter how many people are watching, you know, in the Drum Brother, whether it be on my YouTube channel or on stage or in the practice room, to really just try to be me. And I think as a drummer, I'm an explorer, and that's what I want to be. Just trying new things, trying to find things I haven't heard, and finding like my own voice in a way. I know I've never been one to learn a lot of licks or learn a lot of things from other drummers, but maybe it's a very small idea that will later stick with me for my whole life, you know? Like I can remember some like very small things that were just like, oh, and then they stuck with me forever, you know?